This video is in response to Decker 1981's video, Atheism Vs Communism. While I agree with the main thrust of the video, there are elements of it that I feel are factually inaccurate and or illogical. I've split up my disagreements into two parts. In the first, I'll discuss my disagreement with the logic behind claiming communism and atheism are somehow opposed to each other, as well as the claim that Darwin can't have influenced Marx. In the second, I shall talk about what I feel constitutes communism and socialism. Having yourself established that communism is a set of political beliefs, and atheism is a lack of belief in a god or gods, this claim is peculiar to say the least. The opposite of atheism is theism, the belief in a god or gods, beliefs which are not held by the vast majority of communists. The following comments are particularly illogical then, contradicting the very clear, essentially accurate distinction between communism and atheism, posited in the first half of your video. Here you apply political values to something that is apolitical. These values aren't inherent to the position of disbelieving in a god or gods, as the only requirement of atheism is such a disbelief. Consequently, different atheists can have different, often opposite political ideologies. Some are liberal democrats, others fascists, and others communists. Someone who doesn't believe in the divine isn't any less of an atheist than a liberal capitalist who shares such a disbelief just because they're an authoritarian communist. So too do most communists. Marx has this to say of Charles Darwin's The Origin of Species. Darwin's work is most important and suits my purpose in that it provides a basis in natural science for the historical class struggle. Despite all shortcomings, it is here that, for the first time, teleology in science is not only dealt a mortal blow, but its rational meaning is empirically explained. Another example of a communist thinker who agreed with, and was influenced by, Darwin's work would be anarcho-communist Peter Kropotkin and his landmark work, Mutual Aid, a Factor in Evolution, which was heavily based on Darwin's own theory of evolution. Again, it's worth pointing out that agreement with the theories of Darwin is not necessary to make one an atheist. Chairs tend to have 4 legs, but this does not mean that a chair with less or more legs is no longer a chair. While anti-evolutionists who seek to undermine the theory of evolution by claiming so-called communist tyrannies are the direct result of Darwinism greatly overstate the influence Darwin had on Marx, this particular comment is extremely illogical and most probably false. Karl Marx lived for many years after the publication of The Origin of Species, and authored many works himself, further refining his political views. People don't live in an intellectual vacuum after they publish their first book. They are continually influenced by others. Though I'd consider the Communist Manifesto essential reading for anyone, whether they're socialist or not, one doesn't have to read it to know what socialism is. This is because there have been many socialist thinkers throughout history, each with very different ideas about what socialism is and what a socialist society should look like. The Communist Manifesto articulates just one such set of ideas. Karl Marx invented Marxism, not communism. There were plenty of non-Marxist communist philosophers developing their own separate ideas at around the same time as Marx and Engels. There have been no communist or socialist countries, just countries that call themselves communist or socialist. As an anarcho-communist, I define socialism as an economic system in which workers own the means of production collectively, and communism as a classless, stateless society based on free association within collectives. I take Mikhail Bakunin's point that socialism without freedom is slavery and brutality even further, and argue that socialism without freedom isn't socialism at all. Similarly, a society with a distinct bureaucratic ruling class, which has behind it the highly centralised power of a state, cannot be considered communist. Consequently, I don't consider tyrannies like the Soviet Union to be socialist in the slightest, any more than I, or any other rational person, would consider Cambodia under the Khmer Rouge, or East Germany from 1949 to 1990, examples of democracy, simply because they called themselves democratic.